We actually have a major home builder claiming that people are putting off buying houses right now because they are terrified artificial intelligence is going to take their jobs.
Yeah, I guess a 30-year mortgage is pretty intimidating if you think a software update is gunning for your salary.
Right? It is wild. Welcome to Earnings Unscripted. It is June 12, 2026, and today we are looking at Lennar, ticker LEN, and their second quarter results. And just a quick housekeeping note before we really dig into the weirdness, everything we talk about today is just our personal opinion, definitely not financial advice, so keep your life savings safely where they are.
Please do, because the market already tried to gamble on this print and, well, completely tripped over itself. The stock rallied over 5% during the regular session yesterday and then just gave almost all of it back after hours to finish essentially flat. Wall Street has absolutely no idea how to price this quarter.
Which makes sense when you look at the raw numbers, because on the surface, things look incredible. Revenue hit $7.94 billion, which is up almost 20% quarter over quarter. Earnings were a solid $1.24 a share. Even gross margins on homes crept up a bit to 15.6%.
Right, except the whole thing is sort of propped up on stilts. Those margins only stabilize because they are throwing money at the buyer. Sales incentive rates are sitting at 12.9% right now. That is lower than last quarter, sure, but historically, builders only offer maybe 4 to 6% to close a deal. They are basically subsidizing the housing market to keep the product moving.
And keeping it moving really is the main story here. They dropped their construction cycle down to a record 121 days, so they're basically operating a home assembly line now. But at the exact same time, management quietly cut their full-year delivery targets down to a band of 82 to 83,000 homes. So they're building faster than ever, but suddenly tapping the brakes on the rest of the year?
Well, that is the ultimate disconnect. You have record fast factories, but the end consumer is getting crushed by geopolitical uncertainty and this new AI anxiety. And frankly, the actual business model Lennar's running is morphing right under our feet. They dumped so much land off their balance sheet that it completely distorted their cash flow metrics this quarter.
Okay, yes. That transition is fascinating because they don't even want to be viewed as a traditional real estate company anymore. All right, let's get into the details of what this new asset-light approach is actually doing to the books.
Yeah, so the books are getting completely rewired right now. You look at the balance sheet, and this line item called ACOR, which is, well, it stands for pre-acquisition costs, it just skyrocketed to $7.1 billion.
Okay, but $7 billion in just pre-acquisition? What exactly are they buying if they are supposed to be asset-light now?
Well, they're not really buying the land, they're buying time. Lennar currently owns just 2% of the land they build on.
Only 2%? A major home builder owning 2% of its own dirt.
Right. The other 98% is just options. So they use these third-party financial partners, land banks basically, to buy the actual physical lots and hold them. Lennar just pays them option maintenance fees to lock down the future rights to build there.
Oh, I see. So it is almost like paying someone to hold your spot in line at a busy restaurant.
Kind of, yeah, except you're doing it for a 5-year development pipeline. And those holding fees, look, they create a massive temporary drag on current cash flow. Analysts on the call, I think it was UBS, they actually called out a $270 million imbalance hitting EBIT.
Ouch. Did management have a good answer for $250 million gap?
They sort of waved it off. The CFO said it's just a symptom of scaling up the model, which mathematically, sure, it front-loads a ton of expenses today to get high return on equity later, but it completely scrambles traditional P&L modeling for anyone trying to track them. And I should mention, the actual cash flow statements, the detailed CapEx breakouts, were literally missing from the immediate Q2 8K exhibits.
Missing as in they forgot them, or missing as in we'll get to the bad news later?
I mean, probably just delayed filing mechanics, but releasing an earnings report without the core cash flow statement while you're entirely restructuring your cash mechanics is, well, it's a bold choice.
It's definitely a choice. So they really are forcing this new narrative hard. I noticed they even dropped a completely new investor presentation mid-year to explain this.
They did. Management is clearly frustrated that Wall Street still values them like a traditional real estate holder. In fact, the CEO laid it out perfectly on the call, though funny enough, the official transcript vendor somehow credited this entire strategic vision to a Raymond James analyst.
Wow. Always check your sources, right? So what did the CEO, Stuart Miller, actually say?
He said, and I quote, We are migrating from an on-book balance sheet with land embedded, or a land company that happens to build homes, to an off-balance sheet asset-light approach where we have become a manufacturing platform.
A manufacturing platform. So that perfectly explains the 121-day cycle time we talked about earlier. They're basically acting like Ford now. You don't hold the iron ore, you just run the assembly line.
Exactly. You take the heavy capital burden of raw dirt, you push it to a financial partner, and you just crank out finished homes for $81 a square foot, which, by the way, is down 13% over the last 2 years. In this inflationary environment, cutting construction costs that much is a genuine engineering feat.
It really is impressive when you frame it like that. It sounds like the underlying engine of the business is stronger than ever. But, Miro, if this new machine they build is running that smoothly, why in the world did they just cut their delivery outlook for the rest of the year? What exactly is spooking them?
Interest rates and, well, geopolitics officially, but there is a really fascinating psychological layer here. They cut the full-year target down to that 82 to 83,000 band because consumer confidence is just visibly fracturing.
Fracturing how, though? We joked about the whole AI thing at the very top, but is that really moving the needle on a macro scale?
According to management, it actually is. Stuart Miller specifically brought this up. He said, and I am quoting here, "The advance of artificial intelligence is raising questions about the future of employment." He claims consumer psychology is directly affected by anxieties about long-term job security.
That is so heavy, but it makes perfect sense. You are looking at a 30-year mortgage for a new house, and you are paralyzed because you think an algorithm might make your career obsolete in 5 years.
Exactly. So that is why their guidance for the third quarter is this weird mix of confidence and caution. They expect deliveries to hold steady right around 21,000 homes, and they're actually guiding gross margins up a tick to 16%.
Hold on. How do you push margins back up if the buyer is that anxious?
By slowing the machine down. Miller admitted the market is somewhat erratic, so they're intentionally taking pressure off. They're stepping back from pushing new supply to let those heavy sales incentives cool down rather than just forcing volume at a loss.
Oh, I see. So it's not a growth at all cost story anymore. They built this incredibly efficient factory, and now they just decide how fast the conveyor belt runs based on the overall mood of the country.
Right. They control the volume knob now. The real test next quarter is whether buyers actually show up naturally or if Lennar has to crank those expensive incentives right back up just to keep the line moving.
Let's hope the robots hold off on taking our jobs, at least until the next earnings print.
Or at least until we finish recording.
Fair enough. I think that's a perfect place to leave it for today. If you want these deep dives to just naturally show up on your phone whenever new earnings drop, make sure you follow the feed wherever you listen. And just a quick transparency note, we do build this show using AI tools to help organize all the heavy research before we hit record. We really want to hear what you think or what tickers we should tackle next, so drop us an email at earningsunscripted@datamadness.ca or find the X link in the show notes.
We will see you next time.